On today's Chords and Coffee, we got a little bit of drip coming from the pot. No big deal, that's life. Hey, if you were looking for a video to waste your time, this ain't it. Tune off. If you're looking for a video that has no good information, wrong video, friend. On this Chords and Coffee, we're gonna delve into the minor chord madness. Okay, in all seriousness, we're going to talk about minor chords. And we're going to talk about minor 7, we're going to talk about minor 9, and we're going to talk about minor 6. You want to talk about some low-hanging fruit to spice up whatever song you're playing, whether that's in your band, or if you're just learning a tune, or even writing. I hope you're writing songs using some of these chord voicings. That would really bless me to know that. Or even if it's on a Sunday morning, and you're playing, a tune that's got minor chords in it, and I promise you are, because it's a very, very, very useful chord. Very low-hanging fruit. Very easy way to spice up a chord progression is insert one minor 7 or a minor 9. And spoiler alert, I'm going to ruin you for minor 7 chords. Because once you get minor 9 chords in your grip, it's like a good sack of potato chips. All you need is dip. I only said that because it rhymed. And I do that all the time. Hey, welcome to Chords and Coffee. Anyway, we're going to talk about a bunch of chords. So get your screen shot grabber utensil ready so you can, take quick pictures of this and then transcribe it as you like, or just hit that pause button on this, or watch this 100 million times. That'll help too. So here we go. We're going to use minor 7 chords first, kind of as our foundation. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. And then we're going to go to minor 9 and then minor 6. And I'm going to talk briefly about Dorian and how you can use that in the, the world out there. I'm trying to prepare you for the world. I'm trying to help you. Okay, so here it comes. Minor 7. So let's just do all this in C. So that means we're going to do A minor here. You know this chord, but just in case you don't, here it comes. So we're going to have our index finger on the first fret of the B. We're going to have our middle finger on the second fret of the D. G string's going to be open, friend, and then your pinky is going to hit the third fret of the high E to grab that other G, and then you're going to strum from the A string down. And if you got a wiggle stick, you ought to wiggle it. A minor 7, nothing to it. Here's your next one. I'm going to give you an optional grip on this one. How about index finger across the 5th fret from the low E to the high E? Done! Ring finger on the 7th fret of the A string. You can stop right there because that's a minor 7 chord. And if that's not fancy enough, if you need more players in the pool, go ahead and put your pinky on the 8th fret of the B. Very nice. Now here's a fun one. So we've talked about in other lessons, if you've been watching these Chords and Coffees, and Lord have mercy, I hope you have. If you've been watching them, you know that every major chord has a relative minor, just like every minor chord has a relative major. So in this case, to make this next A minor 7, we're basically just going to make a C chord and put A in the bass. Right? Index finger on the 8th fret of the B. Now you can lay it down if you want to. I don't want to right now, but you can. And you can get that high E too. I'm just going to go for the B. And then middle finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the G string. And then ring finger is going to be on the D string of the 10th fret. Now if I put an A in the bass, listen. Now some of you right now, I can hear you saying it. You're going, well, that's not a very movable shape. Yes, it is. You don't have to play all the notes of the chord. In fact, if there's another guitar player or a keyboard player, or how about this, a bass player, and they're grooving on. It's pretty hip for you to not have to play that root note if somebody else has got it, right? So that's a pretty cool grip and hopefully a pretty cool tip. I'm still going with the rhyming thing. All right, so now middle finger is going to be on the 12th fret. We've talked about this voicing a million times, but here comes a million and one. 12th fret, middle finger of the A string. Index finger is going to be on the 10th fret of the D. Ring finger is going to be on the 12th fret of the G. And then pinky is going to be on the 13th fret of the B. And then all of it together sounds like this. And you can play the high E if you want to. So those are all A minor 7s. A minor 7, it's a fine chord. It is a safe chord. It is a chord that you can play anytime you see regular old A minor. A minor 7 works just fine. There ain't no doubt about it. Anybody argues with you, you can fight them anytime and win every time. It works, right? Now, A minor 9. A minor 9 chord adds this little bit of tension element to it. See, even my amp started buzzing funny as soon as I said minor chord, minor 9. It adds a little bit of tension element to it that just gives this greater degree of intrigue and interest without being too mysterious. Right? I'm looking at the cameraman for approval here. He agrees. Jordan agrees. This is important stuff. So let's learn some minor 9 grips. Why minor 9? Well, a lot of times, especially if you're playing 4-chord, pop music, could be rock, could be country, could be praise and worship, anything not jazz or classical, right? If you're playing straight up the middle kind of music, by the way, nothing wrong with that. But if you were playing a progression where you were playing, let's say F, C, A minor, G, if I played F, C, here comes this A minor. Now I played an F with the G up here on the top and then a C, and I kept that G up there, and then when I went to regular G chord I did regular G, but that A minor 9, it adds just a little bit of a flavor. I'm telling you, try to insert this in every aspect where you find yourself needing to play a minor chord. A minor 9 is a nice fit. Does it work every time? Well, it depends on the situation, but most situations, yes. Here comes your first minor 9 grip here. That's what I call the Hobbit chord. I don't know why, it just makes me think about hobbits. And I like them. They have lots of breakfasts. So this one right here is going to be a middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D. It's going to be pinky on the 4th fret of the G. And then you're going to have your index finger on the 1st fret of the B. Now I know you're like, dang it, Nate, that's stretchy. It's only stretchy in this neck of the woods. As you move it up, like if you were doing like an E minor 9, it's nice, or even an octave high up here. It's not too bad. So you got, again, index finger on the 1st fret of the B, and then I've got my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the high E. That's a beautiful chord. They use that chord a lot in the Rocky soundtrack. Time for a little bit of coffee here. Do I have a trash can here? Nope. All right, hold on. Look, watch. We're going to improv. This is Chords and Coffee. This is real stuff. Pouring the coffee in. Look at that. Putting it right back. Hey, Chemex, if you're giving out awards for filter usage, I'm probably not in the top 5, but that just happened. Chords and Coffee. Take a quick drink, friend. By the way, at the end of these videos, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm asking folks to send me coffee. I want to drink your coffee. Send me your coffee. Okay, now, minor 9 chords, back to it. This next one, this is my favorite. This is the one, pound for pound, you're going to get the most juice out of this squeeze here. I promise you this. That grip right there. Index finger on the 5th fret from the D to the G to the B, and then pinky. I like pinky. Do you have to use pinky? No, you can use your ring finger, but I feel like pinky is where you want to go long term, and we'll get to that on some future Chords and Coffees. But for right now, pinky on the 7th fret of the high E. And if you got a wiggle stick, you ought to wiggle it. That's a great voicing. A minor 9. Okay, so for the next one, this is also pound for pound an amazing voicing. It's all the way up here. This one to me, and we've talked about this one before too, it's a beautiful tight grip. It starts to invoke kind of like a Fender Rhodes sound. You're going to have your middle finger on the 12th fret of the A string, index finger on the 10th fret of the D, and then your ring finger is going to be on the 12th fret of the G, and then the pinky is going to be on the 12th fret of the B. Play them all. It's nice, right? Now, this next one is really cool too. It's similar to that. This next one is one that when you play this, if you will, we've talked about before taking chords and playing them one note at a time. Like for example, on this minor 9 chord we did just a second ago. To me, playing one note at a time when you have a fret that has multiple notes on it, like the 5th fret here, it's a little hard to, that kind of thing. Or it's a little scrunchy, right? But this one here, it lays out really nice. You've got your ring finger on the 12th fret of the A, middle finger on the 10th fret of the D, and then index finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the G. Now, if that feels a little uncomfortable, a little stretchy, a little, that ain't right, Nate, it's your thumb, friend. Adjust your thumb until it feels better. And then you're going to put your pinky on the B string of the 12th fret. I love that chord. This is a quick little tangent. There's a Bill Evans album called From Left to Right. Bill Evans, the keyboard player, not the sax player. And he's got a Fender Rhodes on one hand and then a grand piano on the other. And he's playing with an orchestra. It's called Bill Evans From Left to Right. And the first song on there, I believe, is called, is it What Are You Doing for the Rest of Your Life? Or somebody comment below, you know the answer. But Bill Evans From Left to Right, he comes in with this beautiful, I believe it's a minor 9 chord on that Rhodes. And that voicing always reminds me of that album. That album is one of the most golden, like when you listen to it, it has like a golden hue. Jordan just looked it up. Is that right? It's What Are You Doing for the Rest of Your Life? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful song. I used to, if my boys are watching this, I would put that album on whenever I was trying to get them to calm down, get them ready for bedtime, because it is like the most chill album of all time, and I love it. I've listened to it a million times. There you go. So that's another minor 9 voicing. Now, I'm going to give you 2 more. Now, on this next one here, this is by far and away one of my favorite minor 9 voicings of all time. The only danger with this is that just like a second ago when we did that C chord over A, you're actually not playing an A in the root of this. So the root of this chord, you're building it off the 5th, okay? And what that means is that if I want to make an A minor 9 using this chord grip, I've got to sort of orientate this grip off of the 5th of the chord, which would be E, okay? Comment below if that's confusing and I'll explain it to you. But I'm going to take my index finger, I'm going to put it on the 7th fret, starting from the A, going straight across, okay? Now I'm going to take my pinky, I'm going to put my pinky on the 10th fret of the D. Now, index is going to catch the G, and my middle is going to come down on the B string of the 8th fret, okay? Is this the chord camera here? And then that index is also going to catch the 7th fret of the high E, so the whole sheboing is this. Which when I play it like that, you're like, that don't sound like A minor 9. Right? Now you hear it, right? I love that grip. That is such a beautiful grip. And that's a super, super useful grip. We'll come back to that. Hopefully, this is all stream of consciousness. We'll see what happens. I don't even know what's going to happen. Anyway, so the next one, this is again in the same sort of fashion as we played that C grip a while ago. This is going to be a C major 7, but with A in the bass. So index finger on the 7th fret of the high E, middle finger on the 8th fret of the B, ring finger on the 9th fret of the G, and then pinky on the 10th fret of the D. That's a whole lot of minor 9 chords. I got one more, but look, first of all, I want to show you this. What if I'm just sitting on a minor chord? I just made that up. And all I was doing was doing that minor 9 grip to that minor 9 grip that I just showed you all this stuff, to that minor 9 grip, right? sometimes using different voicings of the same chord creates a comping part or an accompaniment part, especially if you're sitting on a chord for a while. I feel like somebody's saying right now, when am I going to be sitting on a chord? A lot, just a lot. You ever been to a funk jam? You ever been to a jam? You ever been to an open mic? I promise you at some point we get to, hey, let's just groove on B flat, right? Or let's just groove on A minor, or whatever. I promise you that's going to happen. If it hasn't happened, I'm preparing you for it. What a wonderful thing, right? When that happens, it's nice. Now, do you have to use all these chords? Lord, no, don't. Sometimes just one is all the doctor ordered, right? But you've got some options. Now, how cool is that? Okay, last one. This one's kind of cool. It's a little stretchy, but also this one is a little more specific to my ear for a couple of reasons. So number one, if I've got my index finger, I'm going to go ahead. I do have an index finger. I'm going to put it on the 5th fret straight across. And then I'm going to put my middle finger, so 5th fret straight across from E to E. And then I'll put my middle finger on the 7th fret of the E, of the A on the E notes. 7th fret of the A. Gotcha, it's hard. And then pinky is going to be on the 9th fret of the D. Now, technically, it's not a minor 9 here because I'm not covering up a G unless I take my ring finger and put it on the 8th fret of the B. And that's cool, but the reality is that this grip, that should invoke kind of Foo Fighters, a lot of cool 90s, nu metal, umlaut metal, right? That's a cool sound, and sometimes that's a really cool thing to do when you're in like kind of a heavier jam, or you're playing something really big with a ton of gain, because just that power chord, which is what you have here with that A and that E, and then adding that B note to it, creates kind of a cool sense of intrigue and kind of a bigger chord. So those are minor 9s. Inject those into what you're already playing. Watch the magic that ensues. Why? Well, first of all, you need to have some discernment to know whether or not it's even a good idea. I mean, if you're playing, a folk arrangement of Bob Dylan's Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, probably just good old-fashioned A minor is what the doctor ordered on that, because that's not what that song's about. But if you're playing something and you need just like a little bit of intrigue, or how about this, a little bit of tension, just a little bit, just to add a point of interest. When you put a minor 9 chord in a beautiful ballad, or even in a song that's funky or just got some groove to it, it's really cool. So try it. Test me in that. Okay, minor 6. What in the world is a minor 6? A minor 6 is a minor chord that has the 6th in it. That's shocking. That wasn't as funny as I hoped it would be, but anyway, let's move on. A minor 6, so in this case, it's an A minor that has the 6th from the A major scale, which is an F sharp. So what's interesting about this chord does not work everywhere you have a minor chord. In fact, this chord, as soon as you inject it onto the scene, you throw a spice into the mix to where all of a sudden you have radically changed the taste of what we're cooking up here, right? Which may be great. Going back to that sitting on a minor chord, funk jam that you're inevitably going to navigate through sometime, if not multiple times in your life, it's really nice to have a minor chord. So if you're sitting there, instead of just jamming on this, which ain't nothing wrong with it, if I went, that little 6th in there, it's like all of a sudden it became a spy show. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden it's like, what's going on? I'll tell you what, one of my favorite places to use this is a song like Superstition, Stevie Wonder. And everybody's, that's kind of the normal thing. But if you come up and playing that minor 6 kind of sound in there, all of a sudden it just gives it just a little bit of flavor that's a little bit different. Where does the minor 6 come from? Well, a little bit of theory. Stay with me, and then we'll get to the chords really quick. When you think minor 6, I want you to think Dorian. What does that mean? So, A minor 6, or this A Dorian idea, we're really saying A is the second of what? G, that's right. A is the second of G, in G scale. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, right? I don't think those pitches were actually correct, but the concept was. All right, so with that, A is the second of G. So simply put, if I'm thinking A Dorian, I'm really just thinking a G major scale as my inspirational color palette for what I'm painting with as I'm making up melodies and coming up with cool phrases. I'm deriving that from G major scale over an A minor chord. And inevitably, if I'm playing a G major scale, I'm going to hit an F sharp over this A minor, which is going to sound like this. And that's a vibe. That's a sound. Try it out. It's a cool thing to groove on. It's also a really cool thing to move from an A minor pentatonic or A minor, C major scale, A minor just normal, regular old vanilla ice cream cone. I like it. A minor, and then all of a sudden drop that F sharp in there and see what happens. It gives it a little bit more life. It gives it a little more longevity as far as the ear being intrigued about what's going to happen next. But in the meantime, let's get some A minor 6 chords in our hands. So, first of all, build a regular old A minor. This one's super easy. Index finger on the first fret of the B. Ring finger on the second fret of the G. Middle finger, second fret of the D. Pinky on the second fret of the high E. Play the low A. Don't play the low E. It goes like this. You definitely want to wiggle stick on these chords too. For those of you playing the home game, the whammy bar is what I am referring to when I say wiggle stick. All right, so that's a good old minor 6. This next one, this is pretty common, and you'll see this a lot. This one always makes me think of the Disney cartoon, the old one, the cartoon, Jungle Book. And when you hear this, if you remember that, if you're old enough to remember that, like the soundtrack, that opening musical number. Fun fact, there's a great guitar player named Jimmy Herring who did a cover of that. And I think the name of the album is Lifeboat Serenade. And he does a cover of the Jungle Book Overture. Nails it. Jimmy Herring is a breathtakingly awesome guitar player. You should check that out. Jimmy Herring, Jungle Book Overture. So this chord is middle finger going to be on the low E, 5th fret. You're going to skip the A. Why are we skipping the A? It's A minor, Nate. I'm skipping the A because I'm giving you a movable chord that you can use all over the place. So, middle finger, 5th fret of the low E, skipping the A. Index finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the D, and then your middle finger or your ring finger is going to be on your G string of the 5th fret, and then your pinky is going to be on the 5th fret of the B. I like that one a lot. Okay, and then the next one here, oh yeah, this guy. This one's way up here. Now, this one, you might start to notice something here. Let me give you the chord first. This one is super movable. In fact, because this one is spread out and so sparse, it ends up being really utilitarian because of that. Middle finger is going to be on the 12th fret of the A. We're going to skip the D. And then we're going to have our index finger on the 11th fret of the G. And then pinky's going to be on the 13th fret of the B. Now, what you might start to notice here, if you're looking at this one especially, you might say, well, dadgum, Nate, man, that's real close to a D7. Put my thumb over that 12th or the 10th fret of that low E. And you would be right. You would be right. And if you think about going back to this A Dorian idea, A Dorian. When I say A Dorian, I'm saying A is the second of what? It's G. And if you think about the building block, and we'll discuss this on the Chords and Coffee, especially if you're interested, comment below. But the building block of jazz, in terms of chord progression, is your 2-5-1, right? And so your 2 would be, in this case, A minor. Your 5 would be a D, specifically a D dominant 7 chord, and then the 1 would be like a G major 7 or some kind of G major chord, right? A little bit much on the theory, but there it is. So, what's interesting, to circle back to a point we've made many times, when you start to add another note to the harmonic palette, you start to get more options on how to think about it, right? Okay, now I'm gonna give you 2 more. This one, I love this shape, and this one's got a couple different ways to play it. This is gonna be, let's do ring finger on the 12th fret of the A. Let's do index finger, stay with me on this, laying across the 10th fret of the D, the G, and the B. You're gonna hit the high E on accident, but we're really just focused on the 3 in the middle there. So the D, the G, and the B. And then your middle finger is gonna be on the 11th fret of the G. And that really looks like a D7. Because it is. Over A. So wait a second, Nate, if I play a D7 chord and put A in the bass, does that make it an A minor 6? More or less, yes. All sorts of cool things happening right now. All right, so there's that A minor 6. Well, where in the world does that come up? I don't know if I'd ever use that. I'm gonna change keys, but listen to this little maneuver here. So, to make you feel my love, Bob Dylan, or anything that has that kind of minor 4 activity, instead of just going to a regular C minor, that C minor 6 right there is so much prettier. So if I'm using an A minor 6, if I'm going, instead of the garden variety minor chord for your minor 4 and a chord progression that has that minor 4 back to 1, try that minor 6. That I think it's a little more haunting than just a straight up minor 4. So there's that. Okay, one more. I know it's a lot of chords, but I told you it's going to be a lot of chords, so you can't be mad at me because I told you what was going to happen. This one. This one's super stretchy. This is for that moment where you just need some kind of stretchy chord to kind of give you a different flavor. Might not ever use it, but don't say I never gave you nothing. So here it comes. You got your pinky on the 10th fret of the D. You got your ring finger on the 9th fret of the G. You got your middle finger on the 7th fret of the B. And your index finger is on the 5th fret of the high E. And if I put the A down there, listen to it. That's a lot of chords. That's a lot of chords. By the way, really quick, I feel like somebody was asking, on this minor 6 chord, can you put your pinky on the 12th fret instead of on that A? Yes, you can. That also sounds good, and it's not getting in the way of anything. So, how do I use those? The best thing to do would be to go through these chord groups. This is the way I did it. I say the best thing. How about this? The way that I did it, and the way that I'm doing it, and the way that I approach chords in general. When I hear a chord that I really like, or a chord progression, I go, God, what is that? You know, I'll look it up, try to find it online if I can, and then I try to find multiple different ways to play it in something that brings out the essence of what attracted me to that chord progression in the first place. In other words, I try to find a way to play it that I like, and then I try to apply it to something I'm already doing. Now, if you're just learning, you may be saying, I don't have a whole lot of things that I'm doing. No problem. That is awesome, because this is kind of your foundation. How cool is that, right? But if you've been playing for a while, or maybe you've got some songs that are pretty familiar to you, especially if you've got some songs that are familiar enough to where you feel no hesitation to kind of mess with them, because maybe you're kind of bored with them, right? Try putting a minor 9 chord in there. Or try putting, see if a minor 6 chord will work, right? And here's what's great about this that we have, is that if you try it and you're like, man, that don't sound right to me, I would love it, and probably several other people watching this too, would love it if you wrote in the comments section, hey, I tried this, it didn't work, here's what I did, blah, 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 how come I didn't like it? I'll respond to you. I might not give you a response that you care for. I probably will. I mean, look, but I'm going to tell you plain. And guess what? Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I go, oh, actually, in that situation, I could see why that wouldn't work because X, Y, Z. But here's what's cool. Look, the language of music is plenty vast enough to where not one person or not even one group of people have it all figured out. We're actually kind of learning together, and that's what this is. That's just a couple of people getting together. And by couple, I mean however many are out there in the internet. Wave your hand. Hey. However many of you are watching this, we're all doing this together. Every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. we get together, living life the best we can with a guitar in our hand, and then when we're not having a guitar in our hand, we're drinking coffee. I sure do appreciate you, friends. I hope this was helpful to you. We will see you next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for another Chords and Coffee.